We're coming to the end of the course. It's hard to believe the semester's gone by quickly, and I found that it's useful to take a little bit of time to reflect on what you might have learned in this course and what that might mean for you in the future. Is there something that you've learned that would be useful for the long term for whatever you're planning on doing in the future? Take a few minutes to just think about it. I think it's important to live a reflective life. And then how did you learn it? What was it that caused you to learn? Here's a few things that I hope that you learned. First, we make a lot of assumptions about life. When you make judgments about what course of action you should take, you make a lot of assumptions, and you do the same thing when you think about starting a business. This course is about trying to help you specifically in the context of starting a business to identify your assumptions, try to test them, use data, and have a process where you're trying to be scientific about it. Gather some data where you set your hypotheses from the beginning, and then you go and do what you think should provide the insight, and then you go with the data. It's the first thing that I hope you learned. You can follow this process in other parts of your life of trying to figure out how to make decisions. Set up the same type of system. Another thing that I hope that you learn specifically related to trying to gather data. Now we focus all about launching a new product or service, but I hope that you learn this with regard to finding information about whatever you're trying to figure out. You can't ask people when you're trying a new product or service, would you buy this? Because people will tell you what you want to hear. And so you need to have a more sound way to get over some of the normal biases that people aren't trying to hurt you, but they can lead you astray with normal biases that everybody has. And then another point, and I think this is really important for whatever you do in life, your point is not to try to prove that you're right. We get this beaten over our head in school. You want to try to show that you're right. Maybe that's part of our culture. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to better information. You may not know, there may not be some unalterable truth out there, but you're trying to figure out what the reality is or how close you can come to that reality. And then the final thing is I hope that you learn that you can do some things that you didn't think were possible. Part of the goal of university classes is to do things that you didn't think were possible. And this class has been different probably than some of your other classes. I hope that you learn that you can do some things that you didn't think you could do. A few other things that I hope you learned. It makes me really sad when I have students that are coming to school and then they get out and they can't find a good job, or something happens like what we've experienced here with COVID, and they need to make a living. And I hope that I've taught you that you can do it. You can make a living for yourself. Now, you might have better opportunities in a job, but I hope to raise the floor of what you think is possible. I had a student come to me that had just invested some money into LuLaRoe leggings. That's what the leggings are that I showed you there. And she made the decision without really thinking things through and testing things, and I just really felt for her because she probably had just lost a lot of money. So I hope that you realize entrepreneurship is an option for you. Some of the tools that we've given you in class will make that possible. The picture at the bottom left here is of a friend of mine from high school, and he started his own company when something didn't work out with school, came back home, didn't know what he was going to do, and he started this company where he stores railroad cars for companies that They have excess railroad cars in the chemical industry just north of Detroit in Canada. And he's been really successful. And he's just a good example, I think, of people who their first option maybe was to do a job, but then they found that they could be successful in entrepreneurship, and I hope you can too, if that's necessary. A few parting thoughts. I think I've told you that I came from a family that was unsuccessful financially. My initial idea of businesses was somewhat negative, that business owners are just trying to make money and they don't really care about customers, and it was just kind of a game, and whoever wins the game gets the more of the money. But over time, my view of business has really changed, and I see business as a positive thing generally, because businesses work when you solve people's problems. And that's a wonderful thing. You solve it so well that people want to give you money for it. So what you have to do is figure out what problems you like to solve. That takes some introspection. That takes experience. You need to try some things. Figure out what you really like to solve, what problems you like to solve, and then focus on solving problems for other people. That might change over time. That's not comfortable and it's not easy. Anything that's good, I don't think, is really easy. So I would encourage you to read or listen to this book called Startup of You. It's by this guy named Reid Hoffman. You might not be familiar with him, but he started LinkedIn. And he uses, in this video that I'm going to put on this page, he uses the principles that we've talked about in Lean Startup to talk about your career as a person. And I really encourage you to listen to it. You can get it at the library, listen to it. I listen to it in my car, or you can get it I think you can get it on podcast too. But I've given you a shortened version that you can listen to. It's really useful, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or whatever you want to do. You can use the same principles that we talked about in this class in your career. So that's it. I wish you success. I hope you're happy, that you achieve your goals. Let me know about your successes. I'd love to hear that in the coming years. Thank you for this semester, and good luck in your future.